Yes, yeah. You could certainly add that in for sure. Yeah, in fact, this recipe could equally be applied to a hot toddy for sure. I had a little whiskey in there. So we're going to talk about what this is. We're going to make some other drinks and just some ideas on how to kind of easily upgrade some festive beverages, you know, getting the good health ingredients in, but still keeping it harmonious with flavor. Um, yeah, thank you so much for coming. Cheers. Yay. What a cold day. Yeah. Was it you, Donna? Yeah, somebody's saying that's going to get to like -50. That was Angela that was saying that, wasn't it? I heard that. Yeah. Somewhere in the West, right? Yeah, maybe not us, but we could be close. Yeah, Saskatchewan, right? Anyways, I'm doing good. Excited to be here. My eyes are a little irritated, but other than that, like feeling amazing and looking forward to a great day with everybody. We got a lot of folks online as well. Those that staying up cozy and warm at home. So you'll miss out on the samples, but still be able to enjoy everything else. So great. Well, welcome. Like to do these little open houses every once in a while, and it's always a guess of who's going to come, how many people are going to be here. So this is exciting. I'm glad you all made it out, ventured out into the cold. So I'll promise to reward you with warm drinks and delicious beverages. And yeah, we'll just take our time, have some fun. Got about 45 minutes. So the format, the flow of each day or today is each class is about 45 minutes, and then we'll have a break, give ourselves a chance to kind of turn it over to the next presenter. And we've got a good little schedule. So stay as long as or little as you like. Hopefully don't leave halfway through my presentation, but no, even if you do, it's all good. No judgments. Yeah, we'll have some fun. So, all right, well, let's get into it. I actually don't have a recipe for you because for any of the drinks, because I wanted to come from this idea of things that you can add in regardless of what is being served. Hello, welcome, come on in. And actually, grab a couple more chairs, maybe the tall ones as well, or wherever they'll fit. We'll get you some chairs. Hello, Tamara. Hi. Yeah, I'll show you. Okay, excellent. Yeah, so the idea is, regardless of what's being made, there's some common festive beverages. Eggnog is one, mulled wine, mulled cider. What else do you have? Festive beverages, hot chocolates, chais. So idea isn't necessarily to replace those, right? Because sometimes you have no control. You show up at the party and it's being served, or you've got your favorite family recipe, you already make it. This is the idea of just kind of adding in. It's like dosing the company, you know? And what are you going to add in? Well, it just depends. What do you need? What do you want? Most of us for this time of year, it's about supporting our immune system, right? So we can talk about different herbs that will absolutely support the immune system, but also taste good, right? I don't know if you saw that video we did on andrographis recently. I mean, that is a powerful herb. It absolutely works. It will, you know, it can stop a cold, it can reduce the symptoms, it can shorten the duration. But guess what? It is so darn bitter. Very few people are going to be like, okay, I'll do it. It's one of the most bitter plants on the planet, but it works, but doesn't work in every context to get it into everyone. So that's great, but there's some other stuff that we can talk about. So depending on what you're looking for support, immunity would be an obvious one. A little bit more Christmas cheer, kind of raise the spirits. One could choose some herbs and foods that would do that. One could choose things that would help balance out the diet, things that we're eating, you know, this time of year, that could support with, you know, digestion of fats, that type of thing. What else? What else would you be looking for to maybe add for an effect, a desired benefit? Oh, warmth, right? Yeah, just kind of creating that internal warmth, getting the circulation going. Yes, all that and above. And you know, there's a lot of recipes where that's already built in. So let's start with one that we're all enjoying. So this is a mulled cider. So it's a soft it's not a hard apple cider, though one could make it hard apple cider, right? Meaning the difference between hot and or hard, soft and hard is non-alcoholic versus alcoholic. So you got the non-alcoholic version today, though one could certainly do this with alcoholic. Did you know that apples were mostly consumed as hard cider for like the longest time? Yeah, and it was this idea of the apple a day keeps the doctor away was marketing as a part of the temperance movement, like the church that wanted to get people to start eating the apples, not juicing them and fermenting it into hard booze and drinking it that way. They came up with this idea of an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Because apples, they're not true to seed, right? A lot of people will collect their seed in order to propagate out those characteristics, right? You get a nice tomato or you get a certain variety of something that you really love. You would save that seed and it's going to produce something similar. Apples, you have no idea. You take seeds from an Oran apple or seeds from a Gala apple and it all creates something different. And if you're, aware of many different apple trees or crab apple trees in our neighborhoods, they're not maybe necessarily the tastiest eaters, are they? No. And so very oftentimes they were juiced and fermented and turned into hard apple cider. And that's how it was commonly consumed. Of course, people did eat them. They put them in their baking, that kind of a thing. But it was mostly as a fermented beverage. And then, during the Prohibition and during that time of trying to get people to not drink so much alcohol, at least in the form of hard cider, there was that campaign, apple a day keeps the doctor away. Anyway, so you choose sweet apple juice or hard apple cider. So this was a sweet apple juice. I did dilute it with water. And then, it ended up still coming out quite sweet because I also added some sweet cherries. And one could use sour cherries as well. But cherries, they add a nice kind of, and especially any dried fruit, you could add in goji berries. You could add in, whatever you wanted. As they rehydrate, they're going to offer that flavor. And cherry is a very kind of festive flavor. It's also very good for digestion, metabolism of kind of a heavy meat diet, which maybe some people at this time of year, consuming a little bit more. So that idea of, a tart cherry or a dark cherry really helping with things like gout, and removing uric acid from the body. Also, depending on when it's consumed, it can increase melatonin and help with sleep in the evening. So another reason to add in cherries, just beyond their flavor and beyond their color and that festivity that cherries bring. We also added some rose hips. So these are wild rose hips that you can pick. It's one of the great abundances of nature, in fact, that rose hips get better after the first frost and that they'll stay on the bush just there, ready, vibrant, easy to find, and available for us to pick and utilize anytime. So rose hips, as you may know, really high in vitamin C, a great seasonal food, right? Nature is just like, bing, I'm over here, come get me, right? As a fruit to enjoy during the winter season. Rose hips are an amazing thing to add in. And so your choice of dried fruits, we got cherries, we have rose hips. And then of course, now comes the spices. So cinnamon, cloves, ginger, nutmeg, allspice, you name it. I chose a mulling spice blend that we have here. So cinnamon, orange peel, cloves, and allspice. Now here's something you want to know about orange peels. You want them organic. Almost all orange peels, even the organic ones, are coated with a resin or a wax, and the inorganic ones, doesn't matter. All citrus is actually it's a petroleum-based wax. I'm sure it's edible. Don't worry, it's edible. Okay. So conventional versus organic, when you're doing the citrus, at least if you're going to be using the peels, then you want to go for organic in that regard. A vegetable wax on the organic ones. Right, it's true. So yeah, even apples from the store, right? Yeah, yeah. And it's again, it's because we prioritize shelf life and stability. And so that's what happens in our kind of industrialized food system. So, great. Citrus peels are awesome. If you're looking for that kind of tartness that orange peel can bring, I didn't bring a sample of it. We should break some out. This idea of the citrus of the north. You think about what fruit I'm thinking of that I would describe as the citrus of the north. Close. Yeah, sumac is very interesting. It provides that like bright, like sour kind of burst. It's sea buckthorn. Yeah. Do you want to go to the Elixir bar, see if they have sea buckthorn powder, and then we can have everybody taste that? Yeah. So, again, another berry that gets sweeter after the frost, that's literally out in our landscape in this vibrant color, like, hey, I'm over here, come pick me. And we can add that in. So it's going to give it a nice kind of boost of vitamin C, like the rose hips, also beta carotene, and yeah, lots of other benefits, including that kind of sour tart flavor. Another fruit I should have mentioned actually is elderberries. Yeah, of course, that's something. No, if we'd added elder to our mulled cider, then it would have absolutely turned it like a deep, dark purple. So that's optional, but to throw in some elderberries. Yeah, I think what we'll do, how to dole this out, is we'll just take a little spoon, and you don't need much. So here's the sea buckthorn. Yeah, just on the back of the hand is nice and easy. And we'll give you a little taste of that. So take a look at the color. So this is a freeze-dried powder of sea buckthorn. Zing. Woo. That's a cross between like a lemon and an orange, in terms of flavor. Now, of course, the peel is a little bit different. It's bringing in a bit more of the bitter notes. The bioflavonoids, which plays a role in our vitamin C synthesis. What's that? Sorry. Good question. Do sea buckthorn berries grow around Calgary? And they not only grow around Calgary, but in Calgary. And actually, yeah, I wouldn't recommend picking them from here, but if you just want to kind of see them and go, oh, that's sea buckthorn, almost every exit on Crowchild Trail, you will see sea buckthorn. Yeah, yeah. It's true. They're actually considered an invasive weed here. There used to be an amazing, like incredible patch on Glenmore Reservoir where I personally would have picked from, but they just mowed the whole thing down. And some of the bushes, like like that thick around. Like this is a really dense hardwood. We often don't think of like Alberta has hardwoods. We do. Like Saskatoon is a hardwood. Sea buckthorn is a hardwood. And after they cut it, the inside of the wood was orange. Yeah. And in fact, sea buckthorn wood, because of its density as well as its oil content, just like the fruit in the seeds as well as even in the wood, has a very high oil content. It burns the hottest of definitely any wood around here, but almost of any wood in the world, actually. Yeah. And it's a nitrogen fixer, so it's really great for kind of a permaculture type design, and it just grows. So be careful where you plant sea buckthorn because it will kind of take over. And if you are going to plant them in your own yard, you need a male and a female for the pollination. And as the name suggests, sea buckthorn, they do have thorns. It can make it a bit of a challenge. And yeah, they can be very like long and sharp. Saskatoon Farm does have some thornless varieties that you can buy. But one of the best ways to harvest it is, or the best and kind of most common, is people actually just cut whole branches and then just harvest the branches that way, because the berries are so small, and to get in there and like amongst all these thorns to try and pick them. So you wait till they're frozen, and then Ashley, yeah, you have a technique. Come on up here, and so everybody online can hear it too.
I made a tool where you basically like fold over. It's kind of like tongs, and you essentially like scrape it along the branch, and so the berries, and then you'd have an umbrella, and the berries would fall into the umbrella. So That's why I did it last year, and it worked way better.
It did. I saw you on Instagram.
Yeah.
You posted it. That was genius. So you're gonna have to go into production with those tools. Yeah. Oh, great point, Donna. Yeah. Maybe that's how I hurt my eye. Was I in the sea buckthorns? Is that what's going on? Yeah, the leaves make an amazing tea. And yeah, wear your goggles when you're harvesting. So leaves I would get kind of more in the early spring, early summer. And then the berries, it's later in the season, even after the frost. They're still out there. They're delicious. They just kind of sweeten up. And so whether you have a tool like Ashley and with your umbrella and you're just kind of like scraping or knocking them off and dropping, or you cut branches, and you don't need to worry too much because it is such a vigorous grower. Like it will regrow. It'll put out more stalks and branches. So you would just take whole sections that would be loaded with berries, and then you can kind of smack them, and then all the berries drop into a bucket, or they regrow their branches easily. Yeah. It's such a hardy plant. Yeah. Cool. So sea buckthorn, that would be an amazing one to add in. Elderberries, another one. Although I'd recommend, we'll jump to another kind of concept idea, the mulled wine. Just sprinkle some elderberries in there. So you can either work with the elderberries dried, and then they would need kind of brewed in from the beginning and warm up and really extract into the wine. Or you can add, this is a freeze-dried powder of the elderberry. Let's sample this around too. And then in this case, just like the sea buckthorn as a freeze-dried powder, just you're instantly getting all the flavor, all the benefits as that powder. It wouldn't need that brewing, that steeping into the warm wine or warm cider. Alternately, you can just use also an elderberry syrup. Right. And the neat thing about elderberry is that it's actually in addition to kind of its nutrients, its anthocyanins, like a great antioxidant, as you probably are very well aware of, it is actually an antiviral. And so people will reach to it this time of year, cold and flu season. Elderberry is such a go-to. Either just the berries, you can throw it into broth, you can throw it into your ciders, you can throw it into literally anything. You can make tea with it. The syrups are really nice because it has been, pre-sweetened in that regard. And most oftentimes there is some form of alcohol in here. You need at least, and that's helps preserve it. So usually it's about 20 or 25%, like a brandy or a vodka. And then that just makes it shelf stable. So if you just made a strong decoction of elderberries and added honey, unless you added a lot of honey, it would have a shelf life. So you'd have to keep it in the fridge, and it would likely turn off and ferment. But the brandy, as in the case of like the hot toddies and that type of thing, does have its own medicinal component as well. And if alcohol were an issue, it has a lower evaporating point where you could warm that up and let that alcohol evaporate off, and then that would not be an issue. That's right. Okay, yeah. So the syrup, fantastic, just in your sparkling water. And you could even get away with like any of the freeze-dried powders into sparkling water as well. Yeah, elderberry syrup's fantastic. Now, this is a very basic one where it was just elderberries, honey, also medicinal, a little bit of brandy, but there's a lot of recipes out there for elderberry syrups where you can add different spicing as well. So cinnamon, clove, allspice, things we've been talking about. One of the great spices that I really enjoy is star anise. Yeah. So, not only is it good for digestion, it's also and same with cinnamon, same with ginger, good for circulation, warming us up, but it's also an antiviral as well. So there's the pharmaceutical Tamiflu, which is the number one. I think it's not prescription; it's over the counter. I've never bought it, but it exists out there. People use this thing called Tamiflu. It's a pharmaceutical. It's the number one selling anti-flu medication. It's no longer made from star anise, but for the longest time, the main active component ingredient was sourced from star anise, which is called shikimic acid. Which I think there's 7.5% shikimic acid in star anise, which is the highest in the plant kingdom. And so star anise was used as the main source of that pharmaceutical. I can't remember what they use now, something less than ideal. It's synthetic, probably. You're right, Donna. Yeah. And, but hey, a little bit of star anise, right? In your soups, like the idea of a faux, or like we did in the hot apple cider. It's great, good flavor, and it's going to be supporting everybody's immune system. And as soon as you walked in, right, it's aromatherapy. It's uplifting spirits, like even before you even had a sip. So just like we can add in syrups, we can add in freeze-dried extracts, powders. We can also work with hydrosols as well. So we've got our still out. It's not running right now, but that is the equipment that would be used to create essential oils. But when so what happens, it's a steam distillation, a water distillation. So you put a whole bunch of star anise pods or pine or whatever you're extracting into the still, and then it begins to boil, and steam rises, and then it recondenses back in the cooling chamber. And most people and companies are after the essential oil. So that water is then separated from the distillate and all that, all the water. Whereas, and that's great, that's fine. You can have just the essential oils, or you can have a hydrosol, a solution where those oils are also still dissolved into the water. So we'll pass this around, and you can see, you can see all the oils, the little beads of essential oils from the star anise. Star anise comes out very strong, very potent, and a lovely, lovely flavor. So just a little splash into water or sparkling water, anything like that. Yeah, okay, cool. Karen's sharing some stuff online, thank you. All right, so let's come back to the cider recipe. So we've got our apple juice, some water, just to dilute it. I mean, it's up to you if you want that kind of full body sweetness of just 100% juice, go for it. I like to dilute it, kind of like gives you a bit more volume. And then as you add, things like cherries, whether they're sweet or whether they're sour, the rose hips, other ingredients, you can kind of build that flavor up with your spicing. And the last ingredient I added was some pine and some spruce. Yeah. Now, if you don't know how to identify pine or spruce, they're pretty much the conifers that are around here. If it's a tall conifer, it's going to be pine or spruce in Calgary anyways. If you're in BC, you would want to be cautious that you're not using cedar. And even then, the amount you'd probably throw into a batch like that, I wouldn't worry too much about it. But it has an essential oil, or a component to its essential oil, called thujone, which can be toxic if in large amounts. But you'd have to consume quite a bit for that to be an issue. But pine and cedar, these are great allies. Oh, so pine and spruce. Yes, thank you. Pine and spruce. They are great allies in our ecosystem because they are evergreen, right? Fresh year round. Yes, great question. Could you use the hydrosols of the pine and the spruce instead of fresh? And the answer is absolutely yes. Yeah, for sure. So I literally, on my way out this morning, I was like, I grabbed a little bit from our Christmas tree inside. I was like, oh, I don't want to take too many branches, but I need something to show and tell. So I had a little bit that I brought fresh, and then this is an older looking pine that's already been dried, but it would still work. Fresh is best, or if you can't get fresh, then you can also use the hydrosols as well. So we'll pass around the pine. You can have a little smell of that, and you can kind of see the aroma, the flavor, everything that it's going to bring. And yeah, so pine and spruce, very similar actually to star anise, in that they also contain that shikimic acid. So inhibits respiratory viruses. If somebody already has a cold, it will help kind of relieve congestion. So it's kind of an expectorant, like loosen up phlegm in the lungs, that type of thing. They're also a good source of vitamin C, the needles themselves. Now, when we talk about vitamin C, especially from the rose hips, from the pine needles, the spruce, we do know that it is heat sensitive. So it's not the kind of thing that you're just going to throw everything in, rolling boil. Just a long, gentle, warm, bring it to that nice hot temperature gently versus a big, strong boil. And that will help retain the vitamin C. And then if you wanted to sweeten it a little bit extra, of course, you could use maple syrup, you could use honey, that type of thing, which have their own medicinal benefits. All right. Oh, good question. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So essential oils. So Ashley uses a little bit of tangerine essential oil or orange essential oil. You can drop a little bit of that in, and they're actually, so instead of citrus, instead of a steam distillation, almost all citrus is the essential oils are gathered from pressing the skins of citrus. So whenever you squeeze an orange skin, you see that zest kind of pop out. That's the essential oils, and they would get it from pressing, ideally. All right. Okay, let's talk about some other ideas. If you're looking for other things to support immunity, colloidal silver might be something that you want to drop in there. Because, I have a friend who's a very kind of mainstream dietitian, and her kind of advice this year is eat anything, but not everything. And I was like, that's pretty good, And so, yeah, maybe you're going to be having a little bit more sugar, a little bit more things that you don't normally eat, which can lower our immunity. So things like colloidal silver, things like, the star anise, anything that we can kind of drop in there to support ourselves and those around us. Good. And at least the silver won't have any effects or taste. This one here is, so most colloidal silver, in Canada, they really regulate the parts per million. I think it's 100. Maybe we can be generous and say it's 150 parts per million is the maximum. There is a potential toxicity. You've heard of the blue bloods, people that would, always eat off the silver cutlery and, bowls and plates and that type of thing. And then there's been people who have gone extreme with colloidal silver, and supposedly it turns their skin blue. Now this one here is a kind of a revolution in terms of silver, and it's coated silver, and it's coated in polysaccharides. Silver's coated in polysaccharides. So it doesn't clump, and they're able to concentrate it. And so let me just show you in a glass here. Let's get some filtered water. And so it's, I don't know, I wouldn't want to say this is illegal, but it's certainly above the 100 parts per million that you're allowed. Does anybody want to guess how many parts per million this is? 500? I got 500, 500, 500. Anybody else? 1,000? We got 1,000. Okay, I'll show you. 300. Okay, look at that. So that's just one drop. There's 20,000 parts per million. And the way they're able to get that is, through coating it in some sort of polysaccharide. So it does not clump. Now that would be enough for the whole party, right? We could dose everybody with just that. So really good at inhibiting bacteria and clearing out infections, and totally safe to take in that way. All right. Maybe there's some other attributes that you're after in terms of, we talk a lot about immunity. We talk a little bit about digestion, some kind of deeper nutrition. Tinctures are a great way to add in an influence. So this is a blend described as uplifted spirits, enhance well-being, and calm the nerves. Anybody's nerves need calm during the holiday season, right? So that can go into just as a tincture, drop into any sort of liquid, straight into the mouth if you want. And, depending on how much you add is not, and the type of herb that you use, not really going to like throw the flavor of anything, but could have a nice effect as well. There's this one here. It was one of my favorites. It's called Albizia Shen Drops. So it's really good for, again, the nervous system, you know, the emotional body, if one wants to describe that as. Really, really good for anxiety. It's one of my absolute favorites. We'll give you a little taste of this. You just put some on the back of your hand. It's a heart tonic. It will just put you right in the good heart space. Albizia. Yeah, Albizia flower Shen Drop. So Ashley will give everyone a little taste here. All right, so the last beverage that I want to make, you know, there's lots of different ideas. But the last one I want to kind of showcase is a hot chocolate. Pretty easy, but we'll kind of talk about some variations. Yeah, please do. Yeah, for sure. Really good question. So I think I got here about 10 o'clock, and then I had the apple juice warming. So I did half apple juice, half water. I threw in the cherries, I threw in the rose hips, and then the mulling spice. So everything went in. If I were going to do any hydrosols, I would do them at the end, even like right into the cup, just for that kind of volatile nature. But generally, you know, on low, just let it come to a nice crescendo, you know, in terms of warmth. 30 minutes, 45 minutes, but ultimately it's about tasting, you know, especially if you're adding in things like the cinnamon sticks or cloves or the orange peel, just to give them enough time to rehydrate and really infuse into the drink. Yeah, so it's kind of taste as you go. Yeah. All right. Any other questions? Those online, feel free. You can absolutely use cranberries. Yeah, great question. Yeah, so 100% you can use cranberries, especially if somebody is maybe prone to, you know, UTIs, if you're eating things or certain foods that will kind of shift that balance or imbalance, shall we say. Cranberries, amazing. Even, probably even better, cranberry leaf or uva ursi are fantastic for urinary tract infections. And something you could add in there. But yeah, cranberries themselves, amazing. Hawthorns, you could add in hawthorn berries, you know, like just they almost look like rose hips. This is actually a mix between hawthorns and rose hips. Tell me which is which. Until you crack them in and get in there, you don't know. They can add a really nice flavor and kind of a pithy, seedy fruit that best thrown into a beverage like that and brewed and letting that essence come out, which is very like heart and cardiovascular supportive. Yeah, great question. I mean, them being so dry, I think a half hour, 45 minutes will get it, but you could let it go as long as you want, you know, and you can kind of taste and gauge it that way. All right. Okay. So hot chocolate, yes. Oh, yeah, really great question. So in terms of reusing these, you can tell like the flavor is actually just getting stronger and stronger from this the longer that it sits. And so I would say for sure that we could rebrew this again. So if I had more apple juice or if I just wanted to throw water in it, we could do that. Yeah. Great question. Okay. So this hot chocolate, we're going to give you a bit of an experience here. It's a recipe I've never made before, but we're going for it. I get the idea. I get the concept. So the idea of like the hot cocoa, that's great. It's wonderful, right? Most people have the cocoa powder. They'll mix it into water, mix it into milk. That's fine. Then I would say a next level up, instead of cocoa powder, is you could go to, you could add in cacao butter if you've got that cacao powder, because the butter is the oil, is the fat, and it just kind of elevates the richness of the hot chocolate drink. And cacao butter is amazing, just to add in that fat of the cacao bean, just the flavor, the richness that it brings and elevates is awesome. Then I would say, so powder and butter. The third would be paste, cacao paste, which essentially is the whole cacao bean. And it's just been ground up. It's like taking almonds and making almond butter. This is taking cacao beans and grinding it up, you get cacao paste. So it's all the darkness plus all the richness, all the fat inherent in that. So you could just do a cacao paste. And if you wanted a little extra, you could add in cacao paste and butter, to it. So our chaga hot chocolate that we do at the Elixir Bar, it's those two combined. Then kind of another next level would be to add in a chocolate bar. Any chocolate bar, some chocolate you've made, anything. And so now you've got that richness plus a little sweetness or whatever else is into that bar. And so we're going to kind of play on that idea, that theme, but we're going to make it super rich, like thick deliciousness. And I was in Seattle, or it was in Portland one time, and at a place called Cacao, and they served me a flight of cacao hot chocolates. Yeah, it was a flight. Woo, I took off for sure. Yeah, because it was literally almost like liquid chocolate bar. It was like all they'd done was just melt these really high quality craft chocolates and then just this little cup, and it was just like, whoa. So you can have a base of milk or cream. Oh, I forgot to turn my kettle on. We got to wait for that to boil. Or maybe you can grab us some hot water from the Elixir Bar. Let's go with, I'll give you maybe like, I don't know, half to 3/4. Yeah, just that's excellent. Thank you. All right. So if you like cream, dairy cream, you can use that. We're going to use coconut butter, which is just the ground coconut flakes. And when we add water to this in a ratio, so if you did 1 tablespoon per cup, you'd get a nice kind of, maybe, I don't know what the percentage would be, but like a nice, like rich, like 3.5, 4 or 5%, type of milk. It makes things nice and creamy. It's probably more than that, actually, in terms of kind of dairy equivalent. Maybe it's more like a half and half type of cream. Tablespoon of coconut butter with water. You can replace all canned coconut milks, or like we do at the Elixir Bar, to make a drink a latte, we put in coconut butter. Creams it, makes it wonderful. But one could use dairy. We're just using a non-dairy base right now for everybody. And so I'll do that first. We'll get our kind of really rich, kind of creamy coconut base. So coconut, hot water. Maybe we should add a few more things. I'll grab a little vanilla. That's always nice. Good addition to chocolate. All right, we got some vanilla extract. So this is why there's no recipe. Just a concept I'm playing out on you in real time here. I think we might need just a touch of extra sweetness. So this is like basically some bulk cacao, some chocolate that we made. So we stone grind it from scratch, and then it's just been sitting and aging. And so it doesn't look like, kind of your normal average chocolate bar, because as it sits, it blooms, as it ages. Maybe you've seen a chocolate bar do that, especially as it goes through temperature fluctuations. Yeah, it doesn't look so perfect. Okay, thank you so much. All right, so we're gonna do that. So we want this really rich, very thick. What's that? Oh, all I added was vanilla, coconut butter, and the hot water. Yeah. All right. So now I'll throw in some cacao. So this could be cacao paste, but this is actually chocolate bar 74% that we make here in house. Okay, it's like pudding. We're gonna add just a little bit more, just to thin it out just a touch. And then we'll see if we need to add any additional sweetener. Probably a touch of sweetness. Yeah, it's very coconutty, very creamy. So again, if we did this with dairy, it'd be more neutral. Okay, we'll add, we can do honey, we can do maple. Let's just do a little bit of maple. But it's good. It still has a nice, like, kind of dark richness to it. And then keeping with our theme of, you know, adding in the good healthy stuff, let's go a little bit of reishi mushroom powder. So this will be a mushroom hot chocolate. Coconut butter, yeah, great question. So you could use a coconut oil. It's going to end up being a lot thinner of a consistency, whereas the butter has all the oil and all the fiber, so it gets a bit, or like a richer, deeper flavor and consistency. That's right. Yeah, absolutely. So something that we make 7 days to grind it to this level of creaminess and consistency. Oh, that's pretty good. You ready for it? All right. The reishi mushroom hot chocolate flight. Yeah. So not only, thank you, Ashley. Not only are we getting good chocolate, mood elevating properties, heart opening properties, cardiovascular benefits. We've also got the reishi in there, good for kind of reducing any stress and anxiety of yourself or other family members. Also cardiovascular supportive. It's liver supportive, right? So, you know, can help with digestion, especially as we're consuming richer foods over the holidays. It's good that way. Oh, and I forgot the other magic ingredient I was going to add. No, I totally forgot. We were going to add, and maybe not everybody wants this, egg yolks. So there's a new trend going around, but just serve it up as is. I'll make another one that's like yolky. So there's a new trend going around, yolky hot chocolates, yolky coffee. And it's the idea of adding egg yolks into your coffee or your hot chocolate. I don't know, it may not appeal to everybody, but until you try it, right? Like egg yolks are incredible in terms of their nutrition, and yeah, as well as again, adding to that richness and depth of flavor as well. It's a fresh drinking chocolate. Oh, a French drinking chocolate. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Should we do a yolky version too? Yeah, might as well, right? We got a couple minutes. I mean, I should finish, I should end, but I'm gonna do it. And then Vivian, I don't see her yet to transition over. Okay. So did you like everything about that? Or is there anything that we should change? Or isn't that amazing? Just like, woo. Yeah, so good. Okay, a little maple. We'll do this one a little bit quicker, and then we'll get our yolks in there. Has anybody had yolky coffee or a yolky hot chocolate before? No. Yolks. Yes, we are. So we have been using egg yolks in chocolate bars. Our Get Yolked chocolate bar is dried egg yolks that we then add to the chocolate bar, and it's good. All right. Yeah, isn't it? Did you get yourself a little sample too? Okay. Well, you go and pour right ahead. Yeah. Okay. Here's the question. Do you need to temper the yolks, right? A little bit of heat, stir, stir, a little bit more heat, stir, stir, stir. You could try that. I also know a friend that she's got one of these fancy espresso machines at home, steams her milk. She'll steam the yolks and the milk together. So obviously it's going to cook it at that time. So that's up to you how and when you add in the yolks. All right. Oh, so good. Okay, let's add her. Isn't that good? Right? Yeah, it's like you've never had a hot chocolate like that before. Yeah. Well, good. I'm so glad. This is 100% yolk. So we did half a dozen, was it, Donna? Yeah. So Donna separated some whites and some yolks. And so this is 6 egg yolks into this particular one. And I think when you're at home, you're going to do 1, right, for yourself, or 2, depending on how you like it. Yeah. And this is cooled down in the sense, yeah, it's still warm, but that initial blend, the coconut and the cacao took that heat, and then we'll see how it goes here. All right, somebody's asking a source for dried egg yolks. That's a great question. I have no idea where you'd get them. We dry them ourselves. Okay. Yeah, it's a little bit richer, a little bit creamier. You're missing out here, Angela. Yeah, do you want to tell Vivian that she can come on in and get set up? Yeah. All right. Okay, well, I'll serve this up. So yeah, source of dried egg yolks. I'm not sure. You can do a salted egg yolk, but that would be way different for your coffee, for your hot chocolate, where you just literally put egg yolks, bury them in salt, and they dry right out. And then you almost grate it like Parmesan cheese onto things. It's a good way to preserve egg yolks that way. If you have a freeze dryer, you could freeze dry them, no problem. But yeah. Anyways, we're going to have to pause here, and hope you found some inspiration, some ideas to bring wellness to your holidays, to your festive beverages. They'll easily just kind of add in, slip in. And yeah, I want to thank you guys for being here. All right, so start over there. We had enough to go around, obviously. So yeah, all right. Okay, so in the transition, we're going to